comments as well. You ready to get started? You good to go? Cool. We'll be about 30 minutes, guys. So again, man, whenever you feel free, feel free whenever just to jump in with some questions, and we'll kind of ping pong back and forth to you guys. So today we got Coach Boyd. She was born and raised Louisiana, played basketball at Hahnville High School. Kind of leapfrogged that into playing Division I basketball at what y'all call it now? Is it UT Rio Grande Valley?
Yeah, UTRGV.
Yeah, I mean they changed it on me a little bit. So
Yeah.
so she went off to Texas, played college basketball there, finished up at Southeastern. After that, you did a little bit of everything, played overseas professionally, coached high school basketball, and then got back into college and coaching, where you're at now. Congratulations on your new job with Missouri Baptist.
Thank you. Thank you.
So how you doing through all this, man? I kind of gave you a little bit of a heads up with what everyone's your journey, I guess, is what I really want to talk to. Just so you know, like most of the people kind of tuning in are going to be anywhere from middle school to high school, maybe even some college kids as well. So if you can kind of give just a little bit of your journey, kind of what you learned along the way. We can start with high school and kind of build it through there.
High school, I got thrown in the fire early as a freshman, so I've seen some big minutes. I came in and we had a lot of seniors that year, but I still was able to afford some playing time and then continue to build there at Hahnville, which is widely known. I know a lot of people know Pokey Chapman, and so I kind of trailed in her footsteps being at Hahnville. We were really, really competitive. We fell my junior year short to Chappelle back when Olivia Grayson was there and Imani was there. So
yeah, they're pretty good.
Yeah, they were pretty good around that time. So I had a teammate on the team that ended up going to college with me at Hahnville, but definitely was a great experience. I think between my junior and my senior years when I really kind of took off with basketball because I was definitely into other sports as well. So I was also a volleyball athlete. So that took a lot of my time in the summer, but it also helped me stay in shape. Hahnville definitely school-wise prepared me for college because St. Charles Parish is probably one of the richest parishes in the state. So we had a ample amount of resources that was able to really suit me moving on to college. So I had no trouble with that.
For sure. So let's backtrack even more. Like, when did you first start playing basketball? I know you said you kind of like played volleyball as well. When did you first kind of fall in love with the game of basketball?
I've been playing basketball since I was 5 years old. So my aunt played basketball, and back then I was just running around playing under the bleachers. And one day, always having to go to her practices, I decided to pick up a basketball, and I guess my family thought I was pretty good at it, and we continued to build on it, and that's kind of how it happened. It was kind of by chance of being stuck in the gym all the time since my aunt had practiced a lot, and my grandparents, toted me with them, so I was able to sit down in the gym a lot, and I guess got distracted one day and picked up the ball, and that was it.
That was a wrap. Yeah, you was hooked.
Yeah, I was hooked, definitely.
So like, think back to like your recruiting process. Like what do you think were some things that kind of helped you? If you could kind of go back and do it again, what would you do differently? Again, we're kind of talking to a lot of kids that are, middle school all the way through high school, some even in college. So like, thinking about that middle school or that high school kid and your experience, what would you have done differently, and what did you kind of learn through that?
Back then, we really wasn't on like social media like that to announce commitments and stuff. So that was a downfall. So I really look forward to playing AAU. And I think the biggest thing for me was, like I said, my junior year is when offers really started to pour in. And a lot of, like I said, we had a tough class that year. So we had KaeLynn, who ended up going to McNeeston, ULL. We had Jalen Johnson. We had Coco Baker. We had Tank. We had all of these kids. So we had a hefty class. And I think for me, it was just staying the course and knowing what I was really good at. And I was fiery. I was a competitor. I played defense. And I was also dishing the ball off to my teammates. So I think I had an overall well-rounded game that really helped me during my recruiting process. And then going into it, I had really fell in love with a couple of schools, and then a couple of kids that I talked about in those classes had committed to those schools and limited positions, and then came around to UTPA at the time. they came in and really just, stole the show, honestly, and afforded me the opportunity to also play with AAU teammates. So we all took, this New Orleans camp of kids, we took it, to Texas. So that was big time for me. But I think within the process of recruiting, it's really who knows you best. And kind of, you're going to get that genuine feel for people. If it's genuine and it's real, then they want you. Sometimes I think now kids run to the first opportunity, whether it's D1 or, they get their first D1 offer, they get their first D2 offer, or whatever it is, and they think it's more so about levels. But I think for me, what it came down to was fit. I had a lot of bigger schools as well, but I chose a school where I knew immediately. I looked at the roster. They had 8 seniors leaving. The point guard had went out with an ACL injury, so that also afforded me the opportunity to say, hey, they need a point guard. They're going to have to, come in and play me. So I looked at all of those aspects, and I just, broke that down that way. And then, again, the plus side was I was able to go with 2 of my teammates who I played AAU with and high school ball with. So I was like, we can come in, we can change a culture. And I think that was my mindset. I wanted to go somewhere and establish it and put it on the map.
For sure. You're talking like on a high level right now, and I hope a lot of kids are watching, man, because, you're talking about a couple different things. You're talking about fit. You're talking about, at the end of the day, go where you're wanted. People make the place 100,000%. I always say that. And then you talk about, like, actually pulling up somebody's roster and doing your own homework. Like, someone else is recruiting you. You should know how many scholarships they got available, what position they got available. That's all questions you can ask. And like you said, it's not that hard to do your homework and find out who's coming off of injuries and where they need to
Exactly.
grow, man. That's big time.
And I mean, I have to give my mom credit for that because she was more so, academically. My mom can care less about basketball, and she's probably watching. But for me, it was like she really sat me down and said, okay, you can go to school for this. And then, my grandparents was like, okay, what's the situation? So I just really had to, see what was going on at that specific school. Like I said, I had bigger offers and could have went to other places, but I chose a place that chose me, basically. And like I said, they took me in, with open arms and stuck with me throughout the process. Like I said, it hadn't been easy. I struggled, and I'm a good academic person. I struggled with the ACT. So if you weary for those ACT takers, just hang in there because I struggled with it. And just being transparent, I want to say my first time taking it might have been a 16. So, and I finished with a 23. So just, sticking to the process. A lot of those schools, you don't hear from them, and then I made the score, and it was getting close to that November 14 signing time. And I remember that day, it was just like a lot of them was, hey, KK, just checking in with you. And I just stuck with who stuck with me. So
Yeah.
if any recruits out there, just do your research, do your homework.
That's what, and like you said, man, you're gonna know who really wants you. Like, you gotta just kind of comb through all the BS, just like the college coaches are doing the same thing. They're combing through, your character and everything else. You got to comb through some of their stuff because it's a business.
It's a two-way street. Yeah, you got to give and they got to give. So at the end of the day, you're going to feel it. Like I said, genuine vibes, all of those things. So when you get a feeling that, those people are really concerned about you and, life after basketball, that's, one of those things.
Yep. So again, guys, anybody that's joining us, feel free, man, comment in the comments and feel free to say
Talking
anything.
about, you're not supposed to put names out there. This lady crazy. Yeah.
Oh man. So again, so now you're in Texas, and then you finish your career at Southeastern. Can you talk about that process? Why you came back home to
Um,
Louisiana?
Again, being transparent, I went out there in Texas and I was living my best life. I was never like a homebody. So, you're free. You're restricted to, you could be whoever you want, whenever you want. Found myself in a little social media trouble. My coach definitely didn't like that. And it was, a conversation that me and him, Larry Tidwell, have to this day. It's no burnt bridges. We still can talk. He wrote me a letter of recommendation for my first job. It was just a part of maturity that I had to get to. And when I was in Texas, I kind of failed at that. I let people get under my skin, made some bad choices. And we just kind of parted ways after that. Came home, which was also a good time because my grandfather ended up being sick. So I had other schools again, transferring the whole process, evaluating everybody all over again, which wasn't a problem because my grades were good. So every school was okay with me, transferring. Wanted to stay close because again, my grandfather was a big part, instrumental part of me growing up and who I am today. And I just decided I would say, hey man, I'm gonna stay close to home. And Hammond is not that far from Boutique or New Orleans, so I was like, that'd be great, for my family. After being away for 2.5 years, I only see my family for Christmas and then Mardi Gras break because they would come, during that break when they're off. So that was big for me. I sat down with Coach Moore. My grandfather and I went to Hammond, sat down with Coach Moore, and honestly, I think the lady didn't ask me one question about basketball. She didn't ask me how many points I was going to score, assists I was going to average. She asked me, where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? And that sold me because I had never had a coach. Every other coach was like, I want you to come in. We're going to win championships. We're going to do this. But she sat me down and asked me exactly like what I wanted to do, 5 years from now when the ball starts bouncing. So that was crucial for me. And I
Yeah,
think
for
that
sure.
helped me as a woman develop who I wanted to be in the coaching game. And I really admired her for that.
For sure. So, like, whenever that conversation came, what was your answer? You immediately knew you wanted to play professionally, or you knew you wanted to coach? What'd you say?
If it was up to me, I would have played professionally until I couldn't breathe no more. So that was always in the question. I had WNBA dreams, but that was definitely politics. And once you get to smaller schools and all those things come into play. But I definitely knew for one that I definitely wanted to play professionally, and then two, I wanted to get into coaching. So, and that if that would have worked out for her, I would definitely had a GA spot on her staff the following year, if not playing professionally.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. So you finished up, playing at Southeast and everything. You beat Nichols while I was there, and we're not gonna put that out there. They're gonna keep that off the
Triple
record.
double.
But so like I forgot what happened. Did you go right into coaching? Or did you go overseas? What happened? How'd it go?
So that's the tricky part. I waited 2 years before I went overseas, and I think that was kind of God's way of telling me to slow down and be with my family. Like I said, my grandfather was still sick, so I think right after he passed, 3 months later, I got a call about a contract to go overseas. And it was crazy because it was like, this whole time I'm like, I want to go, I want to go, I'm working out. At first I didn't want to take any jobs. I'm like, I'm just going to work out, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah, that quickly, when I started looking at my savings account, I was like,
Yeah.
oh, it's not going to work. But I got a call actually from Coach Golf, and he knew somebody that was looking for a coach at a school in this small area in Greensburg, Louisiana. So I was like, okay. I went to the interview, and they hired me, and they gave me a teaching position as well. So that allowed me another source of income. And it kind of worked out that way that, the coach that was there, she really wasn't into it. She wanted more to deal with volleyball, and then it kind of fell into my lap. So I did 2 years coaching the middle school and high school teams there. And then, like I said, when I got the call to go overseas, I'm like, it's a once in a lifetime opportunity. But I loved my kids. I loved the way the program was going. They had made the playoffs for the first time in almost a decade or longer. So we were doing some beautiful things there, but I just had to take that opportunity to go overseas.
For sure. I don't think nobody's gonna fault you for that ever.
No, I called some of my mentors. I'm like, I don't know what I should do. I'm torn. I like, I'm establishing this career and coaching and teaching. And then I was like, I had to snap out of it. It was like, not too many people going to get the call you're getting right now. You just got to go. And then
Yeah.
my grandmother, she's a teacher, so she was definitely not happy about me moving across the world. So it was a tough decision because, like I said, I fell in love with the process and the kids that were there. And it was just really hard for me to just be like, hey, I'm leaving y'all mid-season. So definitely a tough choice to make.
So like last episode we had Kennedy Jackson on. She was talking about. I don't think she's really ever had aspirations, I guess, at this point to play professionally. But I think it's kind of changing throughout. And like you said, at the end of the day, you just really want an opportunity to either say yes or say no. You know what I'm saying? Like you kind of worked your whole life for this, like you said, since you were 5 years old, just to even have that opportunity. I don't know if you know, but I was telling her like I think it's 1.3, 1.4% of high school players play at the Division I level. So then on top of that, now you're talking about playing professionally. It gets even smaller and smaller. So that's pretty cool, and I'm glad to have you on and that you can kind of share that with all the girls. Just follow through the footsteps and living the dream, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's definitely, and like I said, it'll change for her as well. The more her love grows for the game and she gets, it becomes a habit. It comes to
Yeah, I'm
addiction,
seeing that
honestly.
already. Like she's
Yeah.
there 1 year. And she's like, I think I want to do this.
Yeah, so it's gonna continue to change. It's gonna get hard. It's gonna be easy. It's gonna get harder again. So it's gonna continue to change. And as long as her mindset is, she wants to accomplish great things as far as this game is gonna take her, then she'll be fine.
That's awesome. Again, guys, anybody that's joining, feel free. You can comment, have any questions or anything. You can either pop them in the chat or on the little question box at the bottom. So now we're moving on. You come back from overseas, and then you jump right into college after that. How'd that work?
I actually come back overseas and from overseas, which is crazy, but it was a great experience. I come back probably skinnier than I was because my mom was like, "Girl, what's been going on?" But the food was really clean there, So that was a great experience. I get back, and I'm actually bringing Jalen, who plays at Southeastern now, to a tournament because her dad was sick at the time. So I'm taking her to a tournament in Frisco, big tournament. All the college coaches are at and just runs into JP. So shout out JP,
Yeah.
and we're talking, chatting it up, and he's like, "Well, what you plan on doing, Kay?" And I'm saying, well, I want to sit next to you in these chairs, like I'm trying to be like you. And he's like, "What? You trying to coach now? You gonna stop hooping?" I said, "If I could coach, I'll stop hooping." So he runs into another one of his friends, and basically she tells him, "Hey, I'm looking for a young coach who's hungry, ready to work, whatever." He's like, "I got the perfect person." And just like that, I mean, in a matter of like 5 minutes of talking to JP, ending that conversation, walking off, he calls me and say, "Hey, I gave this coach your number, and I do my interview and everything at the tournament." So,
That's awesome.
by the grace of God, like I said, I was doing a good deed because I'm bringing her to this tournament, and we didn't flew in, and I'm making sure everything's straight. And I'm just coming here to give a kid an opportunity, to broadcast her talent, and I get blessed on the back end of it. So that's kind of how it happened. So I was like, well, then I had like again that weird conversation because I gotta have it with my grandmother, and she's like, what you gonna do? And I'm like, well, I want to go back overseas. She's like, oh, that's a little far, and so I gotta tell my agent I'm battling between the two, taking another deal or staying and taking a job to work in corporate America as we call it. So
Yeah.
I'm like, but both of them was my dream. So I said either way I'm gonna win. And so after just praying about it, I said it's a perfect opportunity to get my foot in the door, and I had to. So I just hung the shoes up, and I figured this would be a better plan for me moving on, 5 years from now. I can
Hey,
see the progress.
hey, I know better. I know you ain't hang the shoes up, man. You can still hoop, man. You can still
Yeah, I
hoop.
can still hoop. I can still hoop. I mean, we was hooping and probably I think some of my players on here, and I broke my hand actually this year just hooping.
No.
Yeah, so it's crazy. But I'll be back when I get to Missouri Baptist. They're gonna have to pay for that
There
one.
you go. We got a question from Morgan. She's over at Southeastern. She says, basically, if I take a GA spot to work on my master's, it's not impossible to go overseas after that. She said, I would like to go overseas, but I want to work on my master's. But I feel like if I go overseas first, the GA position will no longer be available.
That's a tough one. But I do know that if Morgan, if you hit me up, I know of this company. It's called Play Overseas, and they kind of help you do both of them, where you can play overseas as well as get your master's studying abroad. So I want to say, what's for you is for you. Like I said, I took 2 years off, and I was a teacher. I was going in a classroom every day at 7:30 a.m. So to do that and then go overseas just out the blue is nothing is never impossible. So whatever you want to do, just go get it, and you just got to figure out what's the plan that you want to follow. I think you could do both of them, honestly. I mean, you can go overseas and find a school to go to over there and do it, or online programs. There's always ways to do both of them. I think you can make it happen.
For sure. We got a question on here. So now you're 5 years after, Coach Moore asked you about your 5 year plan. What's your 5 year plan now moving forward? Now that you're into the coaching world.
Well, moving forward now, like I said, I have 2 years of collegiate coaching experience under my belt. I'm gonna do two more at Missouri Baptist or more there. So after that, getting my master's, hopefully this little experience now that I'm getting in 2 years, I'll be, around 28. So I'm guessing in the next 5 years, kind of get secure either a head coaching spot or still be on the staff at a Division 1, learning and growing. But ultimately, I want to be a head coach, so that's the track that I'm headed towards.
For sure. Now, those people that don't really know, as you're kind of trying to climb the ranks, there's a couple check boxes that you got to check off whenever you're going through the application process. Masters is one of them, so she's going to get that in the next couple of years. Experience. They want you to have at least 5 years experience at the college level and stuff like that. So all that's going to come into fruition here pretty quickly, and it's gonna really start rolling. You're definitely a rising star in our profession for sure.
Hey, that's the goal. That's what I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to check off all the boxes. So
All right, we got a question about as far as from a coach point. When you're looking at players, what's the equation recruiters use to recruit who they're investing in?
I think the equation is really based off of your head coach. I do believe that a lot of schools recruit in region. A lot of schools gonna, if they're based out of Louisiana, they're gonna try to touch more of the south, the southern states. I think also recruiting is just as if when kids pick schools, is you have your A choice, your B choice, your C choice. And I think you go through your options of your immediate needs. So if we're in the need for a post player, we're not going to think about getting too many guards, because at the end of the day, we need a post player. So that's kind of your focus. I also think the kid has to be a character kid. You don't want to have a kid coming in your locker room that's going to, disturb the peace. You kind of want everything to be a smooth transition from high school or junior college or wherever that kid is coming from. So one thing that's big to me or anybody I've worked with thus far is character. Is that kid, what kind of kid are we getting? How did that kid act on social media? How is that kid, act when nobody else is around? What are their grades like? What's their work ethic? You never want to have to coach energy and effort. So what kind of effort and energy is that kid bringing? I think all of those things are important when recruiting.
I think like the what I gathered from that, what you just said, you didn't talk too much about the basketball aspect of things, right? Like we're at the end of the day, you're evaluating thousands and thousands of kids, that can play at your level, and there's so much more I think that people got to realize that go into the recruiting process, like a lot of things, like especially when we was at Nichols, like, we had to find kids that wanted to be at Nichols. You got to find kids that want to be at your school. So I mean, a big part of advice I would say is, so everyone watching, you got to really recruit yourself too, especially like with a personality like you. If you connect with another kid, it's going to be that much easier for you to sell that to your head coach.
Exactly. And like I said, most of it is character. Because 9 times out of 10, we know you could play. You wouldn't be across, our desk on the chart if we didn't think you could play. But 9 times out of 10, it's about your character. It's about what that player possesses, And if they want to be there. Like you said, some kids, they just cling to whatever comes first. But if you want to be there and you're interested, and it starts with communication. You could text some kids and you hit it off right away. And some kids is like real dry, real, I'm gonna treat you like this until I get what I really want. So,
Mm-hmm.
like I said, it's all about being genuine and building that genuine connection. Like you can't pull the wool over my eyes because I'm just around that age of that whole recruiting thing. So I can easily relate with kids, and I know which kids really like us, and then which kids really just kind of, I like you, but I want to go D1 or I want to do this. And sometimes those offers aren't on the table. So
For
I think
sure.
you should just treat everybody with that same respect, no matter if it's D1, D2, D3, NAIA, JUCO. You just got to treat everybody with the same respect.
For sure. I mean, people get so stuck on levels, man. That it seems like I've been doing a ton of college coaches interviews, and like just like yourself, this is like the 15th college coach I've had on, and everyone talks about fit, 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 fit. It's never really about the level. Like at the end of the day, even if you were to play Division 2, you still can have the same opportunity to play overseas. You still have the same opportunity to get the GA spot, to get into coaching. Like all those same opportunities can come along, and a lot of people, especially in Louisiana, we don't have any D2s. We have two D3s. A lot of people don't even grasp that, I guess.
Yeah, it's a tough world because, like I said, this D1, the popularity of D1 and everybody thinking they could go D1 is what triggers people to just only recognize that level of basketball, but like I said, I coached at D2, the D2 level. I've seen beautiful talent at the D2 level that Jury, for instance, they were one of the teams that we played against, and I'm like, this team could definitely be D1. Like they
Mm-hmm.
can beat some mid-major D1 schools. Lubbock Christian, another competitive D2. Texas A&M Commerce. I've been seeing a lot of D2 basketball where it's like some of these kids are passing up opportunities to get to that D1 level when they're missing their fit. So
Yep.
that's a big thing that I've come across as well.
We got another question. What's the biggest difference you've seen from players now to opposed whenever you played?
I just think my generation of hoopers was just real savage. We were dogs, man. I think it was we didn't have a lot of outside distractions. So I think for us it was all we had to do was work. Like I said, I named a few of them: Kikiville, Coco Baker, Tank, Tory, like all these big names, Brandy Jeffrey. We had some people that really could hoop. I think it was our work ethic and it's us just diving into the game and knowing the small details of the game. I think now everything is so microwave success that
Yeah.
people aren't really putting in work anymore, or it's everything to show a video, record a video of me dribbling like this, but you're not really putting in any work, or you going to the gym, you're putting up 200 shots, but the game, so I just think the way social media kind of makes the game look cool and fancy and all that, it's not really cutthroat hard work like it used to be. So, and you get that sometimes, but in some kids, you could tell they ain't really working. It's more so for the little clout.
For sure. For sure. Again, anybody that's jumping on with us that jumped in late, we'll be here for another 5 minutes or so. You feel free to comment in the chat any questions you got. We got another question. After receiving your master's, do you think you will leave the basketball world?
Nah, I won't leave the basketball. When I stop having fun with it, I'll be done with it. But once I get my master's, like I said, I'll only be 27. So, 28. It's a little too early. That's just the beginning of everything. So I don't see me leaving the game until I really couldn't even tell you. I don't even have an answer for that one. But that's the beginning. Once I get my master's, it's over with.
I love it. I love it. What are you getting your master's in?
I'm going to get my master's in business administration. So,
Okay, yeah.
yeah. So
I,
I was
I,
kind
I,
of torn.
I got robbed
Yeah.
at Nichols. They just added that. They started putting all these signs up everywhere after I picked mine in higher education. But I wish I would have done business. That'd have been great.
Well, I was torn between that and like I got my bachelor's in psychology, and my mom is a social worker, so I figured I could, follow in those footsteps. But I think I'm gonna just get my MBA, start a business, let her run the mental health aspect of, trying to branch out like a mental health office for counseling and stuff, and I'm gonna let her do that. But I'm gonna just get the brains to start the operation.
I got you. You be the business mind. I like it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm gonna do the business side. She can handle all the counseling.
I like it. So again, kind of just throwing it back to the beginning. We got middle school kids and high school kids. What, I guess, advice would you give them kind of full circle now that we kind of talked for the last 20, 25 minutes? What advice would you give a middle school kid, high school kid going and starting at the beginning of this basketball journey to where you're at? You're at the end of it where you've really, at the end of the day, you've used basketball more than basketball has used you to kind of get to wherever you're going.
I think for kids now, I would tell if I could tell my younger self the days you don't want to get in the gym, get in the gym. Work on all your weaknesses. You don't want your opponent to ever know what they can take away from you. It shouldn't be like that. You should always be, well, they can't stop you. They really scratching their head when they look at a scouting report or something to be like, we're not going to be able to stop this kid. So I think having that well-rounded game and really investing in that game. Like I said, so many other distractions that is going on in the world today, but certain days is like I said, it wasn't always easy. It was days I definitely didn't feel like going to work out. I definitely didn't feel like putting the time in the gym. But those are the times where you get better, truly investing in your craft and putting your head down and grinding. And you're going to be seen regardless. When you put in the work, and now with social media and the way that you could go upload your video on Twitter and people start retweeting and reaching out. So it's crazy the access you have to other coaches and people that I didn't have access to. but they can't take away hard work. So I think if you just put in the work and put your head down and grind, it'll all pay off in the end.
So it leads us into another question we had. Where did you get seen, or where do you think kids get seen more at the high school level or at the AAU level?
I believe that I have rarely to remember how many high school coaches. I mean, how many coaches came to my high school games. So I would say that AAU is a big market for that. But again, it's about fit. It's about where you're going. A lot of teams that do these mom and pop tournaments, in no shade, but if they're not having college coaches there, that's really not the best thing for you to send your kid to. So AAU was major because it helped me get seen, like I said, the Frisco tournament or other tournaments in Florida and all these other things. That's where the coaches were. You had to be where the coaches were and playing against, like I said, those other people that was ranked and all this in the world. That's what helped me get seen. I can't tell you if I had a coach come to my high school game rather than the year I signed. And of course, your coach go out and see you play. But AAU, I think, is the best option for that. And
I,
having a good team, a good fit, is the
I agree.
best.
I
Yeah.
agree. And you don't want to be the best player on your team. You want to be riding somebody else's coattail. Hey, come see this big girl I got on my team. Let me show you what I got.
Exactly. And that's what I think. A lot of people are just falling into that trap, man. And you just get stuck on a team where, you're not getting that shine, or you go to a team that may not be as good. And so, coaches look at that, the level of competition you play in. A lot of those things gets noticed when they come to the decision board of, are we going to recruit this kid, or can this kid play at this level? So if they only see you play in the blue bracket when all the talent is in gold bracket, that's kind of tough. Of course, you scoring 30 there, but can you score 30 against the kid who committed to Duke?
Yeah.
So it's a difference. But I do think AAU is definitely important.
Yeah. Sometimes I'll take a kid that can score 10 in the gold bracket. Give me somebody that can score 10.
There you go. See, it's levels. It's levels. So, like I said, no shade to anybody that plays in any of those things, but that's definitely something to think about, when you come into a choice of playing AAU and what team you're gonna play on. And ask that AAU coach, where are we gonna be? Who's gonna be at these tournaments? Because AAU, man, I'm looking at it. I'm thankful for my grandparents because those prices are a little steep right now
Oh yeah.
to be on the AAU team. I didn't know how real it was until you start, you get on this side of the business, and we paying 300 and 400 for packets to see kids, so it's definitely a lot of money putting into that. So know what you're investing in.
For sure, man. I'll leave you with one last question. Someone asked, as a player and as a coach, who is someone that impacted you, influenced you, both as a player or as a coach? Two different people. What you got?
As a player and as a coach, I have a real good circle of mentors. So as a coach, I would say Coach Pierre at Grambling State definitely is probably the most humble guy you're gonna ever
Good
meet in
people.
your life. Yeah, so he definitely taught me that side of the game, and just staying in my lane and just learning the little things that you don't really get, because when you get into this business, it's a brand new world. So he was definitely impactful in that. Like I said, my other mentors, Coach Moore, Coach Robinson, they were all good, good people. As far as a player who motivated me, I would probably say just my family. My grandfather was really the one, who really stayed hard on me. And at times I would have a great game, and he was always the person to say, well, you missed 4 free throws. So it was always that, person that I could really be like, okay, well, I did have 10 assists though, but you missed 5 free throws. So
Yeah.
I had that type of feedback at home. And just being a role model to my little brother who's at Vanderbilt this year. So I think I've always had to carry the torch and just show him how, how to work and how to get it out the mud. So I've always been that older, lead the pack type of person. So I've had pretty good mentors and people who, were under me that I had to stay up for.
No doubt, man. That makes for a great coach too, man. I can tell you, man, just watching and kind of seeing you interact with people over the last few years, it's really been awesome to kind of see you grow. Looking forward to big things. Is there anybody, like, anywhere, if someone wants to kind of reach out to you, whether personally or interested in college or anything, you can share with us?
Yeah, well, you got my IG right here, so it's K Boyd on Twitter. I am Boyd Boyd, KaeLynn KaeLynn. So, and I'm willing to help anybody that needs help. So whether it's workouts, whether it's just talking, I definitely want to help grow the game. And I think young women need, mentors and people that's experienced certain things like I have. So I'm an open book, so anybody could hit me up with whatever. So
We got a lot of people, man, again, thanking you in the comments and stuff for coming on. I want to thank you again myself. I appreciate everything, man. And if you ever need anything from us, feel free to reach out. Again,
definitely.
Coach Boyd, man, we're looking forward to seeing y'all grow. If you need anything from Missouri to Louisiana, man, need a gym to come hoop in, hit me up.
I already know, man. I was there last summer with Courtney and them,
For
so I'll
sure.
definitely be back if anything pops off with this virus. And thank everybody for watching. So thank you for giving me this platform. And like I said, I'm an open book. Anybody need anything, let me know.
Appreciate it, Kay. Thanks,
All
man.
right, appreciate you.